songs didn't follow like a formulaic method, where it's just like, oh, we know this is what works.
Yeah. I mean, like that one. So what? That a little bit louder now. What is that from? What song is that from? I mean, I've heard it 1 billion times, but I don't.
Is it Little Richard does that song?
That sounds right.
I think it might be Little Richard.
Thinking like Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
we had to run to that song in PE.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Was that during elementary school?
Yeah.
With Coach Ogledog?
Oh, Ogledog. Pretty sure he wore diapers by the time I got to him. The guy was ancient.
He was old.
So yeah, you were talking about running on the hiking trail.
Yeah, so I'll retell the story for perpetuity. So I was over at a local park. They got like a kids like a playground and everything, and there's like a walking trail like around the playground. But if you like go back, there's probably 5 or 6 miles worth of like hiking trails back there, and they kind of just split off from each other.
Yeah.
And there's one that kind of makes like a loop and it goes around, but there's one's like a red one, and I looked online and I thought I had taken the right red trail that kind of like looped out further and then came back, and that might have been what it was. And so like I start my run and I go down where the red trail is, and then I get like 2 miles into the run. It wasn't even like 2 miles. It's like a mile in, and then like I make a turn, and it goes from like this dirt trail to like bedrock. And it's like this jagged bedrock everywhere. And instead of just turning around like a normal person, I was like, oh, well, this might be interesting. Give me something to do.
Yeah, I'll run on these sharp rocks.
Yeah, and so I'm running, and then I get off of the bedrock, and like I make a turn, and then like I go up this like this hill or whatever, and like you can tell like it's not. I'm not in the nature preserve anymore, right? And it's like next like this like utility line, like running through here, and so I make another turn, and then like it's just fucking power lines, like high voltage power lines.
Yeah, like the utility transmission lines. Yeah,
I can hear them buzzing over my head. Right. And so I'm like, well, fuck, and like I keep running.
Like if you were a foot taller, it'd arc to you.
Yeah. So I like keep running, and like I go down like this pretty steep hill. Well, the thing is like I'm running down this hill, and I can look, and the hill will go right back up.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck.
Oh, that's coming. Like the warped wall.
And so I'm running down this hill, and as I'm running down this hill, I get to the bottom. There's this little stream, like a little creek that runs through there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. So I step over, and then as I go to take a step off, like the next step after I've stepped over the creek, I guess I like was kind of looking behind me, and when I did that, I didn't notice that there was a rock I was getting ready to step on, and so I stepped on this rock and completely rolled my ankle.
Like a 90-degree.
Yeah, like my ankle, the outside of my ankle bone hit that rock, and it turned so bad.
Oh God.
And I just bit it. And just went into this overgrown fucking grass with all this sharp ass grass, and so I like got up. I'm like, fuck. At this point, I'm like 2 miles into this run. I got like another mile and a half, 2 miles to go.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like if I get up and just keep running, like maybe like just get blood flow to it, like I won't notice.
Just run it off.
Yeah, like maybe by the time I get done with this, like it'll hurt, but the adrenaline's going, so maybe I can keep the adrenaline going if I just keep running, right? No. So I get up and run about 100 meters, like hobbling.
Then, like you're running from a killer.
I got fucking Leatherface behind me. And so I finally just stop. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to hobble 2 miles all the way back to the car. And that's what I did. And that's how I spent my lunch that day.
What a fun time.
Covered in dirt with a
busted ankle.
With a busted ankle.
Don't you feel healthier?
I'd have felt healthier if I just stayed on the normal path like a normal person.
So do you think that you got off trail? Or do you think that...
No. There was... So the trail...
Were there markers?
There wasn't any markers back there, but just following the trail,
yeah.
I got all the way back to where I was supposed to be.
Okay.
It is a hiking trail.
Yeah.
It is not a running trail.
Right. Because they're not expecting you to be running through there.
Right.
They're like, if somebody's hiking with their stick and their, their camelback and all that, they'll be okay if they roll an ankle and fall into the grass.
Right.
Yeah. The what's the one that is it the Appalachian Trail that stretches all the way from like Florida up to Maine?
I don't think it goes all the way down to Florida. I think it goes into like North Alabama, like up near like Heflin and everything.
Oh, okay.
So I think it goes from like there and then it stretches out like across like LJ and like Blue Ridge.
Right.
And then cuts up and then it goes all the way up to Maine.
It's like 2,000, 3,000 miles.
Yeah, you can hike it.
Yeah, well, I know that some people will do it from start to finish and it takes them like months.
Right. My first semester in college when I went to Auburn, I took like an English class, but you couldn't just take like an English class. You had to take like an English class with like a subject attached to it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't I remember reading all of them. I was like, well, none of these sound very interesting at all. And there was one I didn't understand what the word was.
Yeah.
And instead of I don't know, Googling what it meant, I just like went ahead
took
and
a chance.
I was like, well, I'm gonna take that one.
Yeah.
And so I get in there and it's like these two like hippie ladies.
Yeah.
And they've got like their crystals on and everything. Yeah. And they're like, welcome to so-and-so.
Wearing burlap sacks.
Yeah. And they're like, we're going to be reading all about nature. And I was like, oh.
Uh-oh.
Fuck.
Oh, no. I've made a grievous mistake.
I was like, I have nothing in common with these two people. They're going to hate all of my papers. And so, but one of the books that we did have to read, which I thought was kind of interesting, was a firsthand account of somebody that hiked the Appalachian Trail. So they started in Maine, but they started in Maine like at the beginning of like the end of spring.
Yeah.
Like that way when they came down it wasn't like blistering cold. Like it was still cold, but it wasn't like...
It was reasonable.
It was reasonable, right? Like you don't want to be hiking up through Maine.
Well, that makes sense because as it goes on later in the year, they're moving further south.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then like part of it was apparently a lot of people get raped.
Yeah.
On the Appalachian Trail. A lot of people get murdered, never get seen again.
Yeah, they'll walk it by themselves.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah. A friend of mine, one of her ex-boyfriends did it, and he liquidated all his assets and like quit his job and walked from like one end of it to the other. It took him 3 months, I want to say, 2 or 3 months to do it, and then at the end of it, he was like, "Well, now what?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I don't know, like if he expected that he was going to reach enlightenment at the end of the trail,
and then ascend into heaven.
Yeah, just like right there on top of the Mount Maine, whatever it is. God, could you imagine like starting like from Alabama in like August,
Ugh.
and then like making it up to Maine in like November?
Ugh.
Just miserable the entire
time.
way.
Like the only nice part was like Northern Virginia.
Yeah,
and that was only for like a week or two.
Yeah, when you hit it like on the tail end of like September.
Yeah. Ugh.
But yeah, you were out in the wilderness,
pretty much
all alone,
and
much. Injured.
Yeah.
There had to have been a moment where you were like, "This might turn out terribly."
As soon as I rolled my ankle,
yeah, like that thought had to enter your head.
It wasn't like I was afraid for like something was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
It was like this is going to hurt for a long time until I get back to the car.
I just like think about like the dude, I don't know where he was hiking, but the James Franco movie, the dude that was rock climbing or cave
it was like
diving
168 hours or whatever.
Yeah, something like
that.
He got his arm pinned in that rock and he had to saw it off with a pocket knife.
Yeesh.
Like one of those little like 1 inch long like, and he's just like trying to get that tendon and it's slipping out of the way and
fucking Just kill me. I'd have been like, I'm dead.
I would have taken that one-inch knife and slit my throat with it. Yeah.
And stabbed it into my temple.
Yeah, they would have found me and been like, they'd be like, it looks like he cut his arm a little bit and then just ended his life.
I don't think that, I don't know. I've never been put in that situation, so I don't know what I would do. But I don't think I could do it.
I remember watching a show that was kind of talking about, that thing in particular, people like going on hikes by themselves and like getting in, these tough positions and everything. And there was this one guy that was walking the trail, and he fell off like a cliff, like a mountain cliff, and took like a 300-foot drop.
Damn.
And like he like broke his back and like shattered
spinal.
Spinal. He like shattered both his legs. Excuse me. But he landed like half in and half out of like a pond.
Yeah. Like with ducks in it.
Well, well, I think it was actually more like a puddle, just like a sitting stagnant body of water. And he couldn't move because I think he was also like pinned under a rock that also fell on him.
Oh, Jesus. So it was like, how much worse can this get?
Yeah. And like his legs were in the water. He couldn't feel anything like from the hips down. And when they found him, like his legs below the knees had been eaten away by like the fauna living in that pond, like little like crawfish and things like that. Ugh. So the whole time he was laying there, he had no idea he was the main course for some little mud bug.
Gross.
Yeah. And then there was that guy that he was in the news a while back. You might remember this. He was walking a trail, and he got attacked by a mountain lion, and he fought it off with his bare hands.
I know which one you're talking about. There's also one where it's a video of a guy. Have you seen that one?
Where he's backing away,
yeah.
and that thing's pouncing at him?
Did he ended up shooting it?
No, he got away from it. The thing was like...
That's right.
The thing was like, the fact that it made itself known to him in front of him...
Yeah.
Was, of course, he didn't know this at the time. He's just, oh, fuck, that's a goddamn mountain lion, and it's coming towards me.
Yeah, for like a long time. That was a long video.
Like 5 minutes of just back pacing, and this thing rah, 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 slapping the ground in front of him.
Horrifying.
Yeah. And it was like, it was trying to just get him to go away. Yeah. Which it succeeded in doing. Yeah. But it's like, if it was hunting him, he would have never seen it.
No, he would have never known.
He would have never known that it was there. But the guy that fought one off, they're like... they found that it was kind of like a juvenile. Yeah. But at the same time...
It's still a mountain lion.
It's still like a 40-pound cat.
Yeah.
I mean...
Exactly. Yeah. You ever try to get a cat off of you?
Yeah, like a
house cat?
A 9-pound angry house cat. You're not coming out of that unscathed. But the dude that guy was talking about is like, yeah, I just like jammed my fingers in its eyes and like stuck my hand down its throat and like punched it in the ribs. And it's like, that mountain lion has probably been in a few scraps. Yeah. I don't think he's ever experienced
nothing like this.
Catching hands from a great ape.
He ended up like killing it with like a rock or something?
Something like that.
Bashed its head in
or
with
I think
a rock.
he choked it out. He got behind it, had to choke it out.
Yeah. Boy. Whew.
But like, they can get those back legs up to their heads and like, claw your arms with those back claws and everything. It's not like a dog. Like if you get a dog in a headlock, he's not that limber.
He's fucked.
Yeah.
Nothing he can do.
They say that's what you're supposed to do if it's ever like a dog fight.
Yeah.
Especially like with pit bulls, because pit bulls won't release once they've bitten. And it was like you're supposed to get your arm around his head and just choke him out. Yeah. Because, once he's unable to breathe, he'll open his mouth.
I heard that you can also stick your finger up their butt.
I've heard that. And I have always heard that. They call it the off button.
I saw a video.
I saw that video too. Is it where they're on like the street and that dude in that blue jacket comes up and does it? It was amazing. It actually worked. He like walked up and
I guess if somebody stuck a finger up your butt, you'd stop what you're doing too.
It was incredible. I couldn't believe that it worked. It actually kind of looked like he pinched his butthole at first. Yeah. He like but he did. He jammed his finger like up to the third knuckle. Yeah. And that was kind of funny because the dog like let go and just kind of walked away like, oh, whoa.
I guess you could also like grab its tail,
Yeah,
and just like spin around and throw them as high as you can.
yeah. So you can get him up to terminal velocity.
Yeah. Like if you could like spin and get him like 30 feet in the air, like by the time he comes back down,
Yeah.
like he's gonna let go of whatever he's got.
Yeah. Are you like doing like a hammer throw?
Yeah.
You should be able to do that.
We're not going for distance, we're going for height.
You just imagine just like, 'cause, like you
He's like a dog go across the street.
Yeah. Imagine like you're sitting like out on some patio having brunch, and this dog comes flying by 30 feet in the air. But yeah, I just couldn't imagine, being in one of those positions, right, where it's like, okay, it's down to like just survival.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not like the primitive technology guy who can build a house and forge iron from bacteria in a creek.
Didn't you? Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Apparently, was it those guys that are on Facebook all the time that do like the primitive house building or whatever? They got caught.
It's the guys that do like
the two
it's like two Filipino dudes or whatever,
right?
Who will build like these like elaborate pools underground, and like it showed them doing it all by hand and carrying the water like from a creek over to the hole in the ground that they dug. But yeah, they've been exposed for being frauds. They like the video that I watched. He shows like in a couple of the shots, he's like they're really good about covering their tracks.
Yeah.
He's like, but they miss some stuff sometimes. He was like, you can see like the excavator tracks like off to the side in this one shot, and then you can see like the teeth marks from the bucket like in the wall of this hole that they've dug.
Yeah.
And there's one shot where you can see the excavator sitting in the background. And it was like, he's like, and why is nobody questioning that these guys are carrying water from a dirty lake over to this hole in the ground, and then it's like clear blue.
Right.
And people are just like, oh my God, we don't even need cars and concrete. And
yeah.
I was like, no, they did.
No. Speaking of dirty holes in the ground, I remember our grandmother told me a story one time about how when they lived in Germany, when our grandfather was in the, I think it was the Air Force, their neighbor wanted to build a pool. And so they were like, so they just dug a hole in the ground and filled it in with concrete. Well, they didn't have any way to drain the pool, so they just drilled a hole down through the concrete and let it just soak into the ground. And there's like just this mud pit. This mud pit in the back of their yard.
So now they have all this like loose, wet dirt with a concrete bowl sitting in it.
People did so much like DIY stuff back then.
Yeah.
They're like, meh.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, think about fucking tree houses.
Oh yeah.
You just like nail a bunch of wood across a bunch of limbs and then like let your children go up in it.
Yeah, times were different back then, man. Especially too, like the reason why people were able to like fix their own cars back then is because like there weren't as many parts on the car.
Yeah. Every car essentially had like 20 parts.
Right.
It's like they were all easily accessible.
Right. Like you remember like looking like in the engine compartment for like the 87
The Sierra
that we had. Like, you could see down to the ground.
Yeah.
Like, there's that.
You could see and reach
everything in there.
The battery sat on a shelf by itself off to the side.
Right.
Easily accessible.
Because it was made so that you could fix your own stuff.
You could service it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they absolutely make things now where you have to take it to somebody because they'll have like, like I know some cars will put the battery in the trunk of the car.
Mine's like that.
Is yours like that?
Mm-hmm.
And some of them will have these straps that go over the top of the battery that you need a special torque tool just to get that strap off.
You need like a torque wrench to do it?
Well, not a torque wrench. It's called like a torque bit.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the star-shaped one.
Yep.
But it's got a hole on the inside because the bolt that it goes down into has got a peg in it.
Yeah.
So you can't get like a regular torque bit down in there. And it's like, why
Why
are you doing that? You bunch of greedy fucks.
Yeah. And they're going to charge you $300 to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ford actually has, and if anybody's a mechanic listening to this, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but Ford actually has like a book, like a service book for like all the different like jobs you might have to do, and like and it tells you the minimum amount of labor hours that you have to charge for that job.
Yeah.
So even if like you're a particularly good mechanic,
it takes you like 10 minutes to do something.
It takes you 10 minutes to do something, and the Ford book says you have to charge at minimum 2 hours for the completion of this job.
Now, I'm assuming that's if you work at like a Ford dealership.
Yeah. I mean, like
if you're a particularly shitty mechanic, and you could probably do the same thing. Like, well, the Ford book says that I have to charge you for 2.5 hours worth of labor. So
yeah, it's like who knows better than Ford? I mean, they made the car, right? And that kind of makes me think that allows them to kind of get an idea or project like how much income they can get from maintenance and parts and service and things like that.
Right.
Because it was like, if they already have this metric by which to bill for, whatever particular thing that might go wrong, then each of those things are in a database.
Right.
Probably with some reference number to it as far as like what the job is. And it's like, okay, so we've rolled out this new car. We've got all these different things that can go wrong, that will probably go wrong because we've made it to do that.
Right.
It's like, and so if we send out 50,000 of these cars and 10,000 of them have this particular thing go wrong, you can consult the book and see that we'll make this much money just from that.
Right.
That's not even the most scuzzy thing that car companies have done recently. BMW is trying to charge microtransactions to use heated seats.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people up in arms about that. And the only thing I can say is don't buy BMWs. Just don't buy them.
Well, people are still going to buy them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is like the nice thing about having a free market economy is that there are other like
options.
Luxury brand vehicles that you can purchase.
Yeah.
It's like if BMW is doing something really shitty like that, and Audi's like, we're not going to do that, then you could always go buy an Audi or like a Volvo or like a Aston Martin or like a Romeo Alfa Romeo. Yeah.
Well, the problem with it is, it's concerning that they had the thought to do that. Number one.
Oh, yeah.
And
no, I'm not arguing that. But what I'm saying is, like, if you want to teach them a lesson...
Yeah, go buy something else.
Go buy something else. That way they don't get any money.
Yeah. But it's like, it's not just the fact that they had that thought. It's the fact that they acted on it. And here's the thing. If they get away with it, if it works, everyone else is going to do it too.
Right.
And it will eventually get to the point where you're going to have to pay a subscription service to use the air conditioner in your car.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
If that becomes the status quo,
exactly.
Then,
so people that buy BMWs need to be like, hey, we're not going to buy this new model of this car because we're just not going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Because if you get 50 to 60% of their customer base going, nope, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, do what the Chinese people did with their banks.
Right.
Just stop giving them money.
Stop giving them money.
If we all stop giving them money, then what are they going to do?
Right. I've always heard that about taxes, too. Well, like, if we all just stop paying taxes.
Actually, the situation in China has gotten so bad that those banks are now accepting produce as payment.
Really?
Yeah. That seems like a death rattle to me.
Like accepting, like, here's a chicken.
Yeah, like on a watermelon, like an ear of corn. Here's a blanket.
I mean, yeah, it makes me wonder too. If somebody, like, say that you came up with a car, and this would be really hard to do because the barrier for entry into the car manufacturing business is so high.
Mm-hmm. With the environmental regulations and all that stuff, yeah.
It's like if you were able to come up with a car that had the minimum amount of electronics in it, had it didn't use a computer system.
Yeah.
And everything was easily accessible and easily changed out. You could do your maintenance easily on it.
Yeah.
I think if you started out small and you could grow that company, and like your whole shtick was like, hey, like you can do the maintenance on this and you don't have to take it anywhere to do it.
Yeah.
As long as you're somewhat competent, and I'm sure like you could, there's going to end up being YouTube videos on how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
You could make so much money, especially with the way that things are going now where they're charging you an arm and a leg to go get your fucking oil changed.
Yeah.
And you got to like take off like all these different covers and everything just so you can get to the oil filter or the drain plug. Yeah,
like when I had to change out that fucking gasket on the Impala, the passenger side wheel had to come off.
Right. Why? Why? Why would that be a thing?
And I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that job if I didn't have access to a 2-post lift.
Right.
Like I couldn't have done that in my garage with like a floor jack. That wasn't going to happen. I feel like that would be really popular. I mean, at least with the car people.
Oh yeah.
Because I know that I think that your average driver is going to be somebody who all that is like
they want to buy the car and then that's it.
Yeah.
They put gas in it and then I'll take it to somebody to go do the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of an afterthought.
Right.
And they're just like, oh well, that's just the way it is. Owning a car is like fucking owning a house at this point. It's just so expensive.
Right.
When it didn't have to be, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
And I feel like if you had something that was that, easy to maintain or self-serviceable, it would also kind of be modular. People could add or subtract from whatever that car is,
Right.
And that would be really popular with people who like to do that kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, there's people now that will still put like Tesla batteries and drivetrains in like an Audi.
Right. I saw one where somebody swapped out the Tesla battery and everything for a V8.
They put a V8 in a Tesla. So, I mean, yeah, there's, those types of people are so few and far between who can actually do that kind of thing.
Right.
And even if you have the know-how, you got to have the right tools and the space and all that stuff.
Well, you also have, like, the income to be able to mess with that kind of stuff, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be, like I said, you would have to start out, like, with it's a very small market segment that you would have to get. But just the way that I see things going is it's getting so much more expensive to own a car and have the maintenance or have it serviced and everything, that eventually if somebody was to come into the market and be like, hey, we're coming out with a car that you can do the maintenance yourself and it's easy to do the maintenance and it's in the long run, it's not going to cost you as much to own this car.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would jump at that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I would think so. I mean, like take for instance my car. Like I don't have like a particularly flashy car. I drive a Hyundai Sonata. It goes from A to B.
No.
But there's still a lot of stuff even on that car that is like it's very clear it was never meant for me to service some of the issues on this car. Case in point, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but for a while there my steering wheel, whenever you turned it to the left or the right, it would bang. It would bang like at the steering wheel, not like down in the floorboard where it like attaches to that, post or whatever.
Oh.
And I called the mechanic. I called the mechanic and I told him, I was like, hey, I've got such and such going on with my car. I was like, can I bring it to you guys and have you look at it? And he was like, I can tell you exactly what it is. He was like, in the steering wheel, where the steering wheel attaches to the steering column. Mm-hmm. It's like the steering column has like these 4 posts and the steering wheel has 4 posts and they sit in each other like teeth.
Right.
He's like, but in between those teeth is like this rubber gasket piece that keeps the metal from banging together.
Yeah.
He was like, that thing has failed. He was like, it's been torn to shreds. He was like, if you take that steering wheel off, he said that thing's going to be in a million pieces.
Right.
He was like, you can get the replacement part. It's like $15. He was like, but if you pay for me to do it, it's going to cost you $800.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I told Mary, I was like,
thanks for the heads up.
yeah, he totally could have just surprised me with that number. But yeah, so I told Mary, I was like, look, I'm gonna I'm going to replace this part. I was like, but I want you to know, there's a good chance I could total the car trying to do this. It's like, because, there's several steps in this process where I could set the airbag off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, there's a video on YouTube of how to do this.
No.
Because we're not going to let them get away with everything.
Right.
So, me and Dad, we very meticulously, took it one bolt out at a time.
Yeah.
And we put them in Ziploc bags and wrote with markers on the bags where that bolt goes.
Yeah.
And it took 3 or 4 hours to do it. But yeah, the whole entire steering column had to come out. And then we had to take the steering column apart.
Right.
To get to this, I mean, it's as big around as a half fucking dollar.
Really?
This $15 rubber part was the cause of all of that. We took the old one out, we put the new one in. Put it all back together.
No.
I feel like there would have been an easier way to do that.
Yeah, but that's not what they're in the business of.
I know.
Right.
One of them had to have kicked that whole thing off.
Right.
And then all the rest of them followed suit.
Right.
That's why I'm so concerned with the BMW thing.
Well, I remember when, oh God, I'd had the Avenger for a year and a half at this point. Oh, the
Avenger.
A year and a half at this point, never buy a fucking Dodge. And
I don't know what it was taking out on you, but it was avenging someone.
Yeah. And so, I went to go get in the car one day, and I tried to shift it from park into reverse, and it wouldn't move at all. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was stuck. It wouldn't, most of the time you can, you feel the pressure and then it releases.
Yeah.
And you can get it into, whatever gears you want to get it into. It wasn't doing that at all. Yeah. I was, banging it and it wouldn't move. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I ended up, at that point, I don't really think there was even, YouTube was, 2010?
Yeah, so people were just doing stuff like Smosh back then. There wasn't really,
Exactly. And so I think Dad ended up coming over, and he's like, well, let's take this apart. So we took the center console piece apart, and we look, and down at the bottom,
was it like a solenoid or something?
No. So what they did is there was a little wire that ran from the front to the back, where the shifter was. And in the back, there was this little bitty plastic piece with this little bitty hook on it that held that wire, and it snapped. And so there was no tension on it, so you couldn't shift it because it wasn't held onto the back of it.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, fuck, how are we going to fix this?
Yeah.
And so what we ended up doing is somehow or another I remember we went and got a spring, and so we attached a spring to it. That way we could get the tension back on it. And that's how we were able to shift it.
It's just fucking jerry-rigged it.
Yeah, just jerry-rigged it. Yeah. And then we got the whole thing covered back up. And then that was the same car that I had to change the brake pads on it 3 times in 3 months.
Oh, my God.
And so, the crazy thing is that it did it like that, and then it stopped doing it. And I never changed the brake pads again.
It just got better.
Yeah, it just got better. Just fixed itself. And then the window fell into the door.
Yeah.
And that's when Allison came up when we were living in Wisconsin, the week that she drove up.
Yeah.
She came on base to get me, and I rolled the window down and went, I rolled the window up, it hit the top and went, bam, and it just fell down into the door. And I was like, fuck, man.
Just sitting there looking at it.
I was like, we're too poor to fix it. And it had started getting cold at that point.
Yeah.
And so,
Wisconsin cold.
Yeah, Wisconsin cold. So I used to drive to the base with the heat on, it was snowing. Snow was coming into the car.
It's just fucking miserable.
And I just turned the heat all the way. It was blasting into my face while I'm driving to the base. And then once I got to the base, I just had a plastic bag that I threw over the door and closed the door. Until finally, I went out behind the house and found a stick and opened up the door and put the window all the way up and shoved that stick in there. And so the stick was catty corner in there holding up this window.
Holding up the window. Yeah. I mean, these businesses have been in business for going on 100 years.
Yeah.
they should have found a way to make these things operate and not fail. But it's like we said, that's not the intention.
No, they're not going to do that.
It's like I had the same issue with the Impala. Like it wouldn't shift, it wouldn't go in reverse, it wouldn't come out of park, anything.
Right.
And I'd had to take the center console apart, and down near the shifter was, wires. It was all electrical that went into the bottom of the shifting box or whatever that was, and one of the wires had come loose. Well, right next to that was a button that you press to bypass the whole thing so you can move the shifter.
Right.
So for a while, I had no center console. It was just a bunch of wires and shit hanging out. And it's like, if I want to shift the car, you got to press the button and move that. You got a spider on your mic or an ant or something. You wiped your face first.
I thought you said it had it on my mouth. I was like, oh, shit.
You were like,
I hate spiders. I can't stand them. There was an ant, though. I don't particularly like them either. But
yeah, at least they're not as bad as spiders.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring in the podcast because I have a little bit of spider-related things to talk about.
Oh, boy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 38th episode of the Thiccboi podcast. So we are coming up. October's just around the corner.
Right.
And we still got September to make it through, of course. But we had briefly discussed maybe doing like a Halloween special.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do like maybe a spooky Halloween themed.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Episode for October. But so that kind of segues me into the next thing. Have you ever heard of the McCamey Manor?
No, is this like creepypasta stuff? Or?
No, it's just a real thing. Hero Bride. So McCamey Manor, I want to say this is out in California. It was this guy who wanted to make like the most extreme like haunted house experience.
Oh, I think I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so like the people,
you have to like sign a waiver.
You got to sign a waiver. Mm-hmm. And they basically torture you for 8 hours.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So there's like, they'll like bury you alive and like waterboard you and like break your fingers and like kick you in the nuts and just like it's shit like that. So the waiver that you sign has a list of 100 things that they're gonna do to you.
Yeah. And
you can pick 2 of them to opt out of.
Yeah.
On that list are things like pulling out your teeth. Pulling off your nails. So that would probably be my 2. Without reading any further, I think that's what I'm gonna
like
pick.
Death.
Yeah.
I would like to opt out of that option, please.
Yeah. So I mean, like he's got to sign. Anybody that goes and does it, like you have to pass a medical background check, a mental exam. It's like you're going into the fucking military.
Yeah. I think that dude was ex-military.
He was in the Navy, actually.
No.
He was in the Navy, and then he did something else, real estate maybe, I think. And then he immediately went and made McCamey Manor.
No.
So you have to sign a waiver. You have to go through all these background checks. You have to do like a 2 or 3 hour long interview with the guy himself. Mm-hmm. He's like, I always get to know my clients. We become friends and then fucking torture them for 8 hours.
No.
And it was like nobody has ever made it through the whole thing.
Right. It's like a 24-hour period they got to get through, right?
Well, they have a 24-hour one. And it starts with them coming and kidnapping you. Was just at their discretion. Yeah. So you sign up to be kidnapped, and then they just come and get you whenever that happens to be.
What if you sign up for that and it wasn't them?
Yeah. But there's no safe word.
Yeah.
They have to determine whether or not okay, we're about to kill this guy. We got to stop. But the 24-hour long one, there was like a $20,000 cash prize if you could make it all the way through.
No.
And he was like, nobody, of course, was able to do it.
No.
And he's like, and then on his website, he was like, I had to stop the $20,000 cash prize one because it was attracting too many crazy people. I don't think well-adjusted people are doing the normal one. There was like a lady who they buried her alive. Like in a wooden box under like 6 feet of dirt, and all they gave her was like this metal straw to breathe through. I mean, so it's shit like that.
No.
My thought on the whole thing is, what a legal mess that must
absolutely.
be to try and own and operate something like that.
You imagine being like a lawyer and be like,
representing that guy?
I don't know if I can do this.
Like, whatever money you're going to make from this thing is going straight to me.
Yeah.
To represent and defend you in court.
Exactly.
After I knowingly let you torture several people to death.
I wonder what because I'm sure he's operating that business under like an LLC. So I'm wondering like what his insurance premium is.
It's got to be through the fucking roof. I mean,
which would make me think that the people that are paying him to do this experience. And I don't even know why he calls it a manor, because it's just outside.
Yeah.
Like, you could be like Uncle Fucky's Uncle Fucky's torture yard.
Yeah.
You might as well
Uncle
call it
Fucky's
that.
knuckle duster.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well do that, because, I mean, number one, you're not in a house.
Yeah. Here's what you do, is you go up into Appalachia, and you find the Whitakers, and you give them $20,000 and let them have at you.
Yeah.
It's just it's the same thing. But yeah, I mean, a normal haunted house is plenty. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't need you fucking touching me.
Yeah. Of course, there's like, there's a sweet spot, right? Somewhere in between like the haunted chicken coop,
right,
and the McCamey Manor, where you genuinely get frightened.
Yeah, something might happen, but nobody's going to torture you. Like, you're not in the hands of ISIS, right?
And you're not also walking through like a cardboard cutout, jumps up, and like a terrible speaker goes blah.
Yeah, right.
I think it was last October, at the Renaissance Festival Fairgrounds over in Fairburn. They were doing like a haunted house, like walk through the woods thing, and me and Mary went through it. And the problem was that there was too many people there doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
So we were seeing.
You were seeing the.
Yeah, we were seeing stuff happen to the people in front of us. So it was kind of like we didn't really get to, get spooked.
The jump scare or whatever. Yeah.
But they had a lot of like ambient noise playing. Of course, like wolves howling and like people screaming. And we walked past this one thing, and the scream that played was from that meme video of that dude having that crazy orgasm. You know what video I'm talking about? You never heard that? Where he's like, ah! I'll play the audio right here. But yeah, it was like...
I just figured that somebody was like screaming, "I'm gonna come!"
I'm like, oh, that is scary. We need to get out of here. The guy's about to come. It's like that. Have you seen that video where Kamala Harris is like, "Don't come.
Yeah.
Do not come." And it switches over to Donald Trump. He goes, "I'm going to come."
Oh, God.
But no, it was... I recognized that sound because people use it in like meme videos all the time. I started laughing when I heard it. Yeah. And so I had to explain to Mary why that was funny to me. And I was like, there's this video of this black dude and he's coming really hard. And Mary's just kind of looking at me like,
"Excuse me?"
I was like, no, it's funny.
Oh, God. I thought you were going to say it's going to be like the one from that they always use in the movies.
Oh, like the Wilhelm scream?
Yeah.
That may have been there as well. Have you ever seen what the Wilhelm scream like originated from?
No, I haven't.
It was like an old like black and white Western film. And there's like, in those old films, old films, like a guy shoots a gun. And then, like, he jumps to the side. He, this big, like, animated fall down or whatever. And usually, like, a bottle that was attached to a string falls off a shelf.
No.
But that was the best they could do back then.
Yeah.
But they needed a scream to add in post, like in sound editing, and they had just had some dude that was like working on set come up.
Hey,
and,
you come here.
Yeah, scream into this mic, and he did that, and they were like, "That's perfect." And then like there was another film that came out some years later, and that director or whoever had access to the sound library that movie had, and he used that scream for something. And then somebody was like, "Hey, I recognize. I've heard that exact scream before because it's such a, it's such a memorable you really pick it out." And then it kind of became a thing.
And it lives on.
Yeah, you hear it now and everything.
Yeah.
Me and Mary watched Prey, the new Predator movie that came out. It's in that. And it's kind of getting to the point where it's like not really funny to me anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like fucking, we get it.
Yeah, right.
Stop using the fucking Wilhelm scream.
Well, there's in a lot of stuff.
It's in a lot of stuff. It's in almost everything.
Yeah.
If there's a scene where people get blown up and like people fly in every direction, you're gonna hear it. You know? It's just...
Speaking of that, there's like a video that's all on Facebook where it's like the first Avengers movie where like they see like all the aliens come through and everybody's like running in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And there's one lady, she's booking it. Like everybody else is like sort of like running away.
Like an extra?
Yeah, like an extra. Everybody else is like running away, and then she's like.
It's like Usain Bolt sprinting. You think
she's like, oh yeah, she's like, my time to shine, baby.
Like, there's got to be extras that do shit like that, right?
I would.
Yeah, I totally would.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would make it so like extravagant.
Yeah, I like when you see extras like, just kind of fucking up. Like there was that James Bond movie. I think it was Casino Royale or something like that. There's a scene where James Bond is like he's sitting in like a crowd of people and he's being like thoughtful or whatever, and there's a dude sweeping in the background, but his broom isn't touching the ground. It's like 10 feet off the ground. He's just like pushing the air. I always thought sound design would be really cool to work on, like for movies and stuff. Yeah. Like you ever see where they have like people who have like a room full of like pots and pans and vegetables and like sticks and just shit to make noise with.
Right.
And so like they're watching a scene where like a dude like gets his arm broken and they'll take like celery sticks and snap it. And like that's always so cool. And it was also kind of funny too because when I first realized first learned that that's how they did that. Now it's like when I watch a movie,
you're wondering. I wonder how they made that sound.
It kind of breaks the immersion just a little bit. But and it's really obvious. Like I can really pick out sound that was added in post.
Yeah.
Because like if it's like a wide shot of like people standing outside, and a dude gets punched in the face, and it's like this really crisp and clear like whoosh sound. Yeah. It's like, well, that was added in post, exactly. And I was like, that just sounds ridiculous.
Right.
I liked all the old Hanna-Barbera like sound effects.
Oh yeah.
Like a dude like runs in place and then like it does like the gunshot sound when he takes off. Or like the cat screaming like when somebody throws something out a window.
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry always had the best sound design.
Yeah. Whoever was doing their sound design was a genius.
I think they were just having fun.
Oh yeah.
Like the Tom and Jerry screams. Fucking Mel Blanc, the voice actor for Bugs Bunny, like the original voice actor. Well, he did Bugs Bunny, but he did like almost all those Looney Tunes characters.
Yeah.
He did Daffy and Tweety and.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did a lot of them. There's this audio recording they have of him, like having a conversation between those characters, and he's just ping-ponging back and forth between these. You know, Daffy Duck sounds very different than Bugs Bunny.
Like Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, it's like he's just going back and forth.
Right.
It's I don't know, it's really cool. I always thought being a voice actor would also be cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what, because as a voice actor, you're not using your normal speaking voice. you are adjusting your speaking voice to what this character should be.
Yeah.
Like nobody's like, oh, I'm going to do voice acting, and then they just talk like they normally talk.
Yeah,
It's well, some do.
Unless you're like the guy who does Bob's Burgers.
Right.
I can't remember that guy's name, but he was Coach McGurk on Home
Yeah, he's
movies.
also the guy that does the voice of Archer. In Archer.
Yeah, it's the exact same voice.
Right, but at this point, it's a meme.
I guess. It's kind of becoming the Wilhelm scream to me. It's like, can we get someone else, or at least have this guy put in some effort? Like, how many times does someone have to hear, hey, Coach McGurk, Bob's Burgers, hey, I'm Archer. It's like,
I totally forgot about home movies.
one of those old Adult Swim gems.
Yeah. Because I really don't really watch Adult Swim anymore, but I remember, like, as a teenager watching it, and, like we've always said, it's sort of just, like, this mishmash
Yeah.
of just nonsense.
Just a handful of shit they flung at a wall.
Yeah, and some of it really sticks.
Yeah. Some of it's timeless.
Oh, yeah.
Aquatine,
Death Clock.
Death Clock.
They had a lineup there for a minute.
It was like
That was
prime.
really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Because I remember there was, like, Saturday nights, they did, like, all the, like, the adult type anime where you had, like, was it, like
Rory
Cowboy
Kenshin,
Bebop?
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah. All
And
kinds
then-
of good stuff.
And then Sundays that's when they did, like, Death Clock and
Gundam Wing. How
yeah.
fucking sick was Gundam
yeah,
Wing?
Gundam Wing. And then Sunday, my favorite was always, I liked Death Clock, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and I liked watching Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah, Space Ghost.
With Brack.
Yeah. And Moltar.
Yeah, Moltar.
He was like the camera guy. I always like the best stuff was always like the stuff that looked like they had a $10 budget.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
No.
Space Ghost, like how often did those characters move?
Not very much.
Not very often at all. There's this one scene where what's the name of the guy, the keyboard player, the praying mantis guy? It's not Brack. Brack was the guy
Yeah,
that
Brack
had
was
the
the-
dreadlocks.
Yeah. Shit, what was his name?
This is going to drive me insane. I can't remember what his name was. But there's this there's this scene from one of those Space Ghost episodes where that guy's sitting there and like it's just quiet. Like there's 10 or 20 seconds of dead silence for a Space Ghost and Moltar, and everybody's just kind of looking at each other. And then they all like look over at the keyboard player, and he goes, "Look at this." He moves his arm up and down, and he goes, "That costs Cartoon Network $42." Also, I mean, like, you know, the people who are making like Adult Swim cartoons were like hardly ever like trying to do anything other than entertain.
Right.
Like they were never really trying to preach anything or have
No.
like a moral. It was just like, let's just take some characters
Right.
and have them do some goofy shit.
Right. It was Zorak.
Zorak.
Yeah, Zorak.
Yeah. He I don't know, man. Like Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
Oh, yeah.
Where all the Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters were like had to come in and like, you know, try to fight like a sexual deviancy charge.
Oh, God.
It's kind of funny. It's like, how, you know, how did you get Ted Turner to get on board with that?
How'd you get that sign off?
Yeah. I wish that I would have got the Space Ghost statue from that guy down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's all dilapidated and like
Oh.
overgrown. But I think that came from Turner Field.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, well, you know, remember because Turner Field had a bunch of
That's right, it did.
cartoon character like statues and stuff all
Right.
around. But when they moved the Braves over to Truist Park,
Right.
I guess they got rid of all that stuff. They kind of distanced themselves from Ted Turner.
Yeah.
And somehow that guy down the street got the Space Ghost statue, but only the top half of it, like from the waist up. I remember because I was driving by.
Yeah.
He's got a Sylvester the Cat one,
Yeah.
and I've seen it before. But I was driving by one day, and all of a sudden, Space Ghost was in his front yard flexing. And I was like, "How did he get that?"
Yeah, I remember all those old Adult Swim cartoons. And I do find it funny that that they were like putting cartoons like out near Turner Field,
Yeah.
and they're like Space Ghost.
Yeah.
Like Space Ghost.
Like
has
kids
to be
aren't
there.
watching Space Ghost.
No.
Yeah.
I guess that's for the adults.
Yeah. But like, it was, I don't know. I feel like Adult Swim was the only one that was like giving time slots to creators who might have otherwise never got their foot in the door.
Right.
So Adult Swim was like this entry point
Right.
where they literally opened up the doors and said to everybody, if you have half an idea, bring it in here.
Right.
Well,
Well, I mean, Cartoon Network was sort of that way too, like with the normal, like when you had like the prime time slots for the kids, of course, it was like 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if you remember this or not, but they actually had like prime time, like Friday nights or whatever it was, where they would show like Johnny Bravo.
It was Cartoon Fridays.
Right.
Yeah.
And they actually had a slot during the middle where they had like they would do they do pilots. Do you remember that?
For new shows.
For new shows. So they
Yeah.
would pilot a new show and they would get the feedback on it and
Yeah.
and then they'd make a decision on whether or not.
I remember the first time they aired Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Right. And I remember the first time that they aired Powerpuff Girls. I remember the first time they aired Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
Like those were all ones that they aired them and they went, oh, okay, that works. So
Yeah.
we'll make a show out of that now.
Yeah.
Which really, like, Nickelodeon never did that. They were just like,
Nickelodeon was very institutionalized. Like
Right.
you had to like be somebody to
right.
get a show on Nickelodeon.
Whereas like Cartoon Network wasn't that way. Like they had that if you could get it to fly on the pilot episode,
Yeah.
then they were going to give you your shot.
I mean, Gendy Tartakovsky had like 6 episodes or 6 shows on it one time.
Right.
Him and Maxwell Adams with Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne.
Right.
Billy and Mandy was great.
Right. And the funny thing too is that back then, and I don't really know how it is today. I don't really keep up with any of the kid shows anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like back then, like the artist, like the way that they drew the cartoons or whatever, like there was always something different about them.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a lot of the ones that I see like just from on Facebook where somebody will post something.
Yeah.
It all looks the same. Like it's
Yeah.
homogenous.
Yeah.
Like grouping of characters, and then you just take them like, oh, we're gonna make a show.
I can't differentiate between shows.
Right.
Yeah. It's like if you took Grimm from Billy and Mandy and put him next to Double D from Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Right.
And then
There's
put
an
him-
obvious difference.
Yeah, and then put him next to like
Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo. It's very clear, or fucking IR Baboon.
Right.
These are all wildly different characters.
Right.
But now it's like that Cal Arts thing where everybody's got that same bean-shaped mouth.
Yeah.
They're all like the exact same like color palette.
Right.
It's just like it's that formulaic shit that everybody moved to, right?
Right.
So time always moves towards efficiency. That's why
Right.
cars all look the same nowadays. When everything first comes out, everybody's trying to have their own style and look a certain way. I watched an episode of SpongeBob recently,
Oh, really?
like a new episode of SpongeBob.
Oh.
I don't recognize this show. The pacing is wildly different.
Really?
It's madness. It's like if you took like season 2 SpongeBob
Yeah.
and gave him every drug.
Really?
It's just, I don't even recognize the show anymore.
To be honest with you, I'm surprised that they're still making episodes.
Yeah, well, me too. But like, do you remember like some of the classic like SpongeBob episodes, like the Krusty Krab pizza,
Right.
or
Was it like the episode where like Sandy goes into hibernation?
Well, yeah, that one. Yeah,
They played Pantera during that.
Yeah, fucking Pantera. I mean, some of those episodes like stand the test of time. They're
Right.
great episodes. And then like the new stuff coming out, they're all like making these like crazy faces. Like none of the characters are really on model, and like
Right.
they never like let a joke land.
Right.
And have its time before they just move on to the next like insane like non sequitur just garbage.
Right.
But it kind of makes sense because that's the style that the target demographic for SpongeBob
Right.
is into. So it's not
Right.
meant for me anymore.
Right.
It was meant for me
Years and
15
years,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Right.
But it's just kind of sad. It's like, oh, I kind of wish you would just let it die.
Yeah, well, it's At this point, it's sort of like the show has run its course. It's sort of like with The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's tired. Like, just let it go.
Yeah. They're never going to let The Simpsons go.
No.
It's never.
And, I think one of the reasons why South Park still works is because it isn't, like, as they continue to grow, or as the show continues to get older, is that they're not really restricted to anything that they have to do.
Yeah.
Like, South Park can make all the crazy, crude jokes that they'd like to and poke fun at really anything. It's like, and it's really not based on any type of, like, pacing or anything. Like, they're just kind of held to whatever craziness is part of what's going on in normal everyday society.
I think a big part of that will help South Park is that it's still Matt and Trey at the helm.
Right.
So the two guys that have been
the
creators that have been calling the shots and pulling the strings from the very beginning are still in those seats.
Right.
If they would have sold South Park off to like some committee, board of directors, or given full creative control over to like Comedy Central, it'd be a wildly different show.
Right.
It would be way toned down. It'd be unenjoyable.
Right.
But the fact that Matt and Trey are still, they still have their hands deeply in it.
That's their intellectual
that's
property.
That's theirs.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's what really helps. What's really helped South Park. South Park is another one of those shows that has classic episodes. The fucking Tower to Heaven one.
Yeah.
The guinea pigs.
Right. The guinea pigs one, was it the one where they turn where they're using all the ninja throwing stars and everything? They had butters in the eye with it.
My favorite part of that is when like their group meets up with like Clyde and Jimmy and his group, and they're like, no, we don't have time to ninja fight you right now. We're trying to do something, and like they're like, well, let's just humor them, and they have like that anime fight or whatever, and then they're like, wait, where'd Butters go? And it was like, wait, why are you looking for Butters? He's like, we threw a ninja star and hit him in the eye, and we're trying to get him to the vet. And they're like, oh fuck, well we need to get out of here. He's like, if you telling us, we're gonna tell on you. That's ninja code. There's just so many good episodes. The fucking World of Warcraft one.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a really good one.
That was a really good one.
Did you ever see where that dude cosplayed as the fat neckbeard guy?
Yeah.
I think that was at BlizzCon, which
I think it was. Yeah.
Blizzard is who does World of Warcraft, and he had like the same shirt and like the same. He looked exactly like that guy. He even did like the push the glasses up on his nose and everything. He oh, you know what? He may have been the type of guy to shit his pants instead of going to the bathroom.
Might have been.
And taking a break from his video game. So let's segue into Super Cringe Thursday. So, for anybody that didn't see, Super Cringe Thursday pick for this week was, it's really something because it's a kid who's playing a video game. I don't know what game he's playing. And you can hear his mother come into the room and she goes, stop playing the game and go to the bathroom now. And you're like, why is she demanding him go to the bathroom?
No.
She goes, you're shitting yourself. I can smell it. Ugh. And he goes, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. And you can hear. I doubt that that's the first time she's had to do that.
When I first saw that, well, you don't see it. It's a screen capture of it, like him playing the game or whatever.
But you can hear it's like his mic.
Right, and you can hear his mic. I don't. Am I so detached from like what kids are doing these days that just doesn't make any sense to me?
That's like a 9-year-old video.
Is it 9 years old?
I think it's pretty old, yeah. Now, there's a good chance that guy, the kid, is like challenged in some way.
Right.
But I feel like if that's the case, the mom would be like, okay, honey, we need to, if that's the kind of thing she's dealing with because he's got some issue.
Right.
She would be a bit more soft.
Bad. It depends on how many times you have to clean shitty drawers. Be like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. The worst part of that video is you can hear him shitting. Around the minute mark, you can hear it. I just there's a lot of things that I enjoy doing. There is nothing I enjoy doing so much that I won't
shit myself.
I would rather sit in the same spot, continue to do what I'm doing, and just shit my pants. It's there's so much. There's a lot of story being told in that minute and 30 second long video. It's how
you can hear the frustration in
hear
her voice.
Her frustration. She's either defeated or on the precipice of it, and he is not budging.
No.
He is not budging.
No.
Not yet. Not yet. I decide when enough is enough.
Once more unto the fray.
I mean, how bad has it got to be when you're in like 2 rooms over at a house? You can like smell somebody shitting themselves.
The rancid shit of probably an early teen.
Yeah. Who
pooping Hot Pockets into their pants.
Some Gatorade and Hot Pockets.
Ugh.
Just like caustic acid tar shit.
Ugh. Ugh.
I feel bad for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel
horrible.
Because I feel like, I'm at that age now where like my coworkers have children, and like if one of them came up to me and was like, "Man, over the weekend, my son wouldn't get off the video game and he just sat there in his gaming chair and shit in his pants."
Like, take it away.
I would be like, I don't know how to help you with that.
Take it away.
Get rid of the kid too while you're at it. I mean, start over. Like,
well, fuck this one up. We'll try again.
Yeah, it's not too late. It's that's when you shit yourself as an adult, when you're conscious.
Right.
In your waking life, you shit yourself. It's one of the worst things.
Yeah, like the last thing I want to do.
Yeah, it's like, it's so uncomfortable and just demeaning. Ugh. And it's one of the, like, you feel like a fucking animal.
Yeah.
So I just can't even.
So to knowingly.
Yeah, I can't even put myself in that headspace.
To knowingly and choose to.
Yeah.
Shit yourself.
Yeah.
That screams to me some type of mental health issue.
Something is knocked loose up there.
Right.
Something has fallen all the way to the engine bay.
Right.
It's gone.
It's like, when's the last time you've seen sunlight?
Yeah. Oh my God. If it's a case of he isn't like autistic or challenged in some way, then it's entirely on her.
Right.
That he got to that point.
Right.
And I still feel bad because you shouldn't have to deal with something like that, but it's a little bit your fault.
Right.
If you just make him wear diapers at this point, at least save yourself some money having to buy new pants.
Yeah.
All the time.
And I'm not really one to say like shame your children, but in that I'll make an exception in that case.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh, you want to shit your pants?"
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm going to send you to school in diapers.
Yeah.
You will wear the diaper at school.
Yeah, and when your friends ask,
you will tell them
it's because you choose to shit yourself.
Exactly.
Here's another question. Who uploaded that video?
That's when I first saw that, it's like, there's no way this is real, because somebody chose to upload this. So the only thing I can think is that
he was streaming or something?
I think that this probably got streamed.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to tell, because if this clip is like 9 years old, that wasn't like when they had like the little
Twitch
person down in the corner.
Yeah.
And then like they're like streaming and you can like see them and everything, and they've got like a chat scroll in the window or whatever. So there's a good chance that if this was a stream, this was like an early stream, and essentially what it was is that somebody heard this happening, because I'm assuming that they screen grabbed it probably when they were like, "Oh fuck," and then they started recording it, and then they uploaded it.
Yeah, but like, who was sitting there just watching this guy play this game, and he didn't sound like he's particularly talkative or entertaining. So somebody was just sitting there just watching this unfold, and then like that started happening. They're like, oh my god, record. Because I can't imagine a world where, there's so many steps taken here where you decided to shit yourself, had this argument with your mother, recorded the entire thing,
right,
and then uploaded that to the fucking internet. But it's the same thing with every other cringe video.
Right. He's like,
why did you upload
yeah,
it?
why'd you upload that? You could have saved yourself a lot of pain
Yeah.
and a lot of suffering
Yeah.
by deciding not to upload that video.
It's like I almost feel bad for making fun of you for it and talking about it, but you decided to put it out on the public forum.
Right.
Where anyone could see it.
Right.
Our grandma could see that video.
Right. That's the thing that I always come back to in the cringe videos is why in the world, especially people that knowingly, like you knew what you did.
Yeah.
And you decided,
Yeah.
Like it just has to be like a lack of self-awareness.
It has to be.
And obviously if you're shitting your pants
Yeah.
while playing a video game, you have a lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, severe.
Severe. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it past that person that they shit themselves and then uploaded the video.
Yeah. Cringe is just there's just so many different types of it. It's just such a nuanced thing. And guys, we have got some stuff backlogged.
Coming down the pipes.
Coming down the pipes. Yeah.
Hot.
So, yeah, be looking out for the next couple of Super Cringe Thursday posts. There's some good ones coming.
That one that I sent you from the Facebook page.
Which one was that? We sent each other a bunch.
It was the initial one that I sent you.
Oh, yeah, the wedding.
Yeah. I had to turn it off. And then I was like, no, I have to watch it because I have to see how it ends.
Yeah.
And like the whole time I was like,
That one's one of those ones where there's just innocent bystanders,
right,
who are like cringing, and you're like, oh no, they didn't have to be a part of this.
And there's the part that got me was there's like a dude that's standing there and his son is standing behind him and he goes and turns around, he's like, I can't do anything at this point. He's like, you subjected my child to this.
It's like we're already here. You're walking down the aisle. We're stuck here. We're stuck here amongst this cringe.
Ugh. And not only that, but I hate that song.
Yeah.
Out of all the songs that I do not like, I legitimately hate that song. Like there's a couple like Nickelback songs that I really do not like.
Yeah.
But I hate that song. Like seething rage when I hear that song. Still to this day, when that song came out, when I was in high school, and everybody's like, oh, I love this song.
When the song was meant for people your age.
Exactly. When the song was meant for people my age, like 17 years old, I was like, I can't fucking stand this song.
Yeah. It's like, God, I kind of wish we had already posted it because, guys, it's a good one, but, we don't want to spoil anything. But that song is, when I hear that song, I picture a certain person in my head. I picture a white woman wearing a pink camouflage mossy oak hoodie and Cookie Monster pajamas with her hair in a messy bun and a cigarette in her mouth.
She got the skunk hair.
She's got the skunk hair.
Yep.
She's got a cigarette in her mouth.
Right.
That's who I'm seeing.
The person that I see that person. I also see the person that the song was meant for is somebody with the skunk hair with a pink stripe through it.
Yeah.
And they're wearing a Fox Racing t-shirt. And they've got ripped up jeans and like a belt buckle.
But not like stylish ripped up jeans.
Right.
Ripped up jeans because they're old and threadbare.
Right. And they're wearing like
oil stains.
Right. That's who I see. That's the person I see.
Yeah. And you want to
know why? Because I saw that person. I saw that person.
We've seen them. We went to school with those people.
Exactly.
And some of them didn't change. They're still those people.
Right. Right. And they still like that song. And the reason why I hate that song so much is because it's so like pandering.
Oh yeah.
It's such pandering.
It's so much more pandering than any country song about driving a truck and having a woman sit next to you.
Yeah.
It's far and away worse than any of those.
Right.
Pick any of the 500,000 songs that are like that. This one stands above.
Right.
Speaking of Nickelback, a couple years ago, I was listening to DJ Cumberbund, and he did that mashup of I think it's Photograph and Take Me Higher by who is that, Creed?
Yeah.
So they're both doing that singing, and it's called Pants Feet. But it's like, as much as I hate that Nickelback song, I like the guitar sound.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very rich acoustic. It's just, it just sounds really good. It's very enjoyable before Chad Kroeger starts singing. So I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to play that song because it doesn't sound terribly complicated.
Right.
It's just a couple chords.
Yeah.
And I looked up a video on YouTube of how to play it, and the guitarist from Nickelback, he was like, hey, it's such and such from Nickelback. He's like, I'm going to show you how to play Photograph. He's like, so what you want to do is, it was, I don't know, just kind of, I think it was this chord. No, it was down here. it's like that. I was just like, why did I expect anything other? You guys recorded this song one time, and then that was it. Everybody just forgot about it.
And I remember when Nickelback first came out, and I remember like one of their first like big hit songs was Hero. That was on the first Spider-Man movie, and I was like, "Wow, they're really good. I really like this band." And then something I don't know.
They say that a hero save us,
and like something happened.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened, and then it was like, ugh.
Was that song in the first Spider-Man? I don't
yes,
remember
it was
that.
the first Spider-Man.
I mean, that sounds right for that era of movies.
Yeah. Well,
you sure it wasn't in Transformers? Because it also sounds like a song that would have been in Transformers.
No, it was in the first Spider-Man movie. I specifically remember that because I heard that and I was like, oh, that's a really good. I like that song. Who is that? And like that was during the time where you had like Creed, Three Doors Down, Nickelback, and I don't think Puddle of Mud came on the scene yet. But like that sort of like post-grunge, like sort of sound that everybody had at that time. Which a lot of people hate that era or whatever.
I love it.
I like those bands.
Yeah.
And like there's some of them I really do not like.
Yeah.
Like
very hit or miss.
Yeah. So like I don't like Nickelback. I like early Nickelback stuff is really good. Photograph is a good song.
Photograph is a good song. It's been memed into oblivion.
Right.
But it is a good song.
Right. Like Nickelback had some good like early stuff, and then like by the time I was like a junior in high school, I was like, ugh.
Kind of fell off.
Yeah. Like that whole like rock star song or whatever.
Yeah.
Ugh.
They started fucking pandering and
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and
there's a line about an omelet or a quesadilla or something in that song. It just...
Oh, yeah, there wasn't there?
Yeah.
An omelet.
Omelette du fromage.
I guess, and shout out to, what's the YouTube video, or the YouTube channel? Punk Rock NBA.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of his videos?
Huh.
So he did like a breakdown. And he's got like a lot of different videos, and they're really, really good on why everybody hates post-grunge. He's like, it's one of the most hated like eras of music. He's like, because you're coming off of like Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Nirvana and like Soundgarden, and then
like legends
of grunge.
Yeah.
And then you're moving into like Creed, Nickelback, Three Doors Down.
Yeah. Is Counting Crows in there?
No, I think Counting Crows would have been...
For some reason, that band name popped in my head. I don't even know if that's the right genre.
I don't know.
I can't think of a Counting Crows song.
They had, was it that Mr. Jones and Me?
Okay, yes, that's not... That's not.
Yeah, so that's not... that. I don't really know what you'd even... What genre would they be in?
I don't know.
They were sort of like in the same genre as like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Like Oasis?
Yeah.
That's like 90s alt.
Yeah.
90s alternative.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then he like went into that, and what he said, I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, is that with grunge, it was very like, they wanted they didn't want the fame and attention.
Yeah.
They were there for the music, and they sang a lot about like depression and suicide and like all these like heavy dark subjects,
real things,
like real things.
Yeah.
And then you had
existentialism.
Yeah, and then you had fucking Scott Stapp over here and Higher, where he's like standing on a mountain with like a leather jacket on.
Like, you missed the point. Where I first heard the news today. That song is about the birth of a child.
Right.
But it's still somehow fucking brain dead.
Right.
There's a scene in that music video where there's like a bunch of asteroids hitting the Earth.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Yeah. It was like none of it really meshed.
Right. And I remember, so that was from Human Clay. That was the second CD that they released, which was Human Clay. But the first one that they released, which was My Own Prison, that was actually probably their best CD.
Yeah.
Because he went in, I watched another video where he talked about Scott Stapp, and he was saying like how like he was abused as a kid. Yeah. And like the person that did the abusing was like his stepdad, and his stepdad was like super into like religion and everything, but he abused him as a kid. So the whole time he's like trying to understand his point of faith as opposed to like this other point of faith that he was sort of brought into. So he was trying to separate those two things, which was one of the reasons why My Own Prison is their best album, because he wasn't doing this savior complex thing that he did in Human Clay, and then I think Weathered was the third CD.
Yeah.
And by that point, it had just fucking fallen to shit.
Yeah. Even though those bands and songs and even that genre as a whole are as hated as it is, it's still very much, one of the capstones to that era,
right,
of music. And it kind of leads into bands like Breaking Benjamin,
right,
and I don't remember the name of the band, but what's that song where it's like, what I really meant to say is I'm sorry for the way I am.
Oh, was that Fuel?
That might be right.
I think it was Fuel.
Have you ever seen the music video for that? It's so dumb. It's the most 2000s thing ever.
You ever watch like some of those old music videos from back then?
Yeah, we used to watch it on fucking Fuse.
Fuse,
yeah. TV channel that had
Have
music
you seen
videos.
what Fuse has turned into?
Oh, I couldn't even fucking imagine.
It's all like pop and rap stuff now.
Well, that's what's popular.
Which that was not what Fuse...
No, Fuse was for the stuff that wasn't popular.
Right.
Yeah.
It used to be like... Well, I don't know if you could say that it wasn't popular, because during that time period, that was the stuff that was popular.
Yeah.
Was like they were playing like... they played like Trapped.
Yeah.
Like Headstrong.
Yeah.
And they played like... oh, God, what was that song? It was from the album Year of the Spider. Was it Cold? There's like a bunch of bands with like one
word.
Noun.
Yeah.
Like a noun. Fuel and Cold. And
for a while, there was a lot of bands that were like a word and then a number.
Yeah,
Sum 41.
Blink 182, Sum 41.
Yeah. Speaking of Breaking Benjamin, their album, they had Diary of Jane on it.
Mm-hmm.
Also had, what else? There's another song on there. Why did I bring them up? There's something I wanted to talk about with them. Oh, no. Blow Me Away.
That was on the second Halo game?
Yes, because that's what I wanted to talk about.
Right.
So Halo 2 was also really indicative of that era where everything was
absolutely.
so aggressive and like, fuck you. And like, everything was that way back then.
Yeah.
So like, Incubus had a song in Halo 2.
Did they?
Yeah. It was like an instrumental piece.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no lyrics in the Breaking Benjamins.
No.
There was no lyrics.
That's another
in
band
it.
I really like is Incubus.
Yeah. But do you remember the first time playing through Halo 2 and you walk into that room and that fucking dirty ass that starts playing, and you're just like, fuck yeah, dude. And it was like,
and then you get murked.
Yeah, well.
And then by like the fifth or sixth time, you're like, oh.
Like, just turn the song off. Done. It was also, one of the most bullshit levels. But yeah, I mean, it was so... everything had that flavor of like Renegade.
Right.
All the music was that way. All the media was that way. Everything was so fucking commercials for cereal. Fuck you, mom and dad. I'm gonna eat. Everything was that way.
You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, you don't understand, Mom. It's a skateboard. Yeah, right before we get out of here, since I brought up Halo 2, did you hear about the LASO challenge? The Halo 2 LASO challenge?
I think I'd seen a post about it.
Yeah, so there was a streamer, I think his name is like Critical or something like that. He issued a challenge for $20,000 if anybody could beat Halo 2 on Legendary with all skulls on.
Oh, really?
Without dying. From start to finish without dying.
Ugh.
I remember trying to beat the first fucking level of Halo 2 on Legendary.
Without any skulls on.
Without any skulls on. For everybody who doesn't know, skulls on are just like these multipliers that change aspects of the game to make it harder.
One of them makes everything invisible.
One of them makes everybody invisible and takes away your heads-up display. One of them makes it to where your health doesn't recharge unless you melee an enemy, which good luck getting close enough to one.
No.
Because I think they were like, during the development of Halo 2, they didn't have time to really tweak the Legendary difficulty setting. So they just took the sliders for health and damage and cranked it all up to 11.
Some dude on Adderall.
Yeah. I mean, the snipers, the enemy snipers in that game, as soon as you turn a corner, they kill you immediately. You don't even have a chance to see them.
Are you talking about that little alleyway that was on New Mombasa or whatever it is?
Like the second level?
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
As soon as you turn that corner, done.
There's times in that particular level too, like where you're driving like a warthog, and they'll snipe you out of the warthog.
They'll snipe you out of the fucking warthog. So the challenge was to do the whole game with all the skulls on, except for the one that will allow you to turn invisible, because that helps you. So all of them except that one, on Legendary, without dying one time, from front to back. And I think the challenge was issued... When the challenge was issued, it was somebody managed to do it like 2-3 months later.
Yeah.
And the guy's name was Jervalin or whatever.
Yeah.
And his stream from when he did it is up. And he does a lot of things like boundary breaking, getting outside the map, which all that was allowed.
Yeah.
Because you can't...
No, you
cannot play the game the way it's intended to be played and beat. You simply cannot.
Right.
But he did it in 6.5 hours.
Really?
Which that in and of itself is
impressive. That's like a speed run.
That's like a speed run at that point. But the fact that he was able to do it, I mean, it comes from playing that game
so
front
many
to
times.
back for that came out 18 years ago.
Yeah, a long time.
Just knowing how the AI works,
right?
Knowing how the physics engine works,
right?
Like a very intimate knowledge of the mechanisms of that game. So it's just when I first heard that challenge was made, and I was like, no one is going to be able to do this.
To beat it properly.
To beat it properly, that wasn't the challenge. It was just to beat it without dying.
Right.
But yeah, so
you could have said $10 million and beat it properly.
Nobody could have done it.
Yeah.
Nobody could have ever done it. And it was, but it made me think, like, now that that's been done, every time, especially with video games, it's like every time there's like a record set, somebody's got to come behind it and beat it one-up it. It's the most, gaming is the most one-uppy thing ever. So it makes me wonder if somebody will do it with no glitches, no boundary breaks, no...
The amount of time that you would have to dedicate in order to understand the pattern of the AI and how the AI interacts, like timing and all that stuff.
Yeah. The fucking foot soldiers in that game will kill you in under a second.
Right.
At full health, you're done. That's it.
I mean, possibly. I mean, if you dedicated enough time to it, but what you get back from it, is it really even worth the time?
Well, $20,000 is not chump change.
Well, it's not chump change, but I mean, if you're dedicating years and years of your life to understanding this.
Yeah. He was only able to get that $20,000 because he has played that game that much.
Right.
So, I mean, $20,000 over 18 years is...
I mean, it's a possibility. You could. Yeah. $1,000 a year, a little bit over.
That's a real gamer.
Yeah. he's a shit in his pants kind of gamer.
Shit in his pants kind of gamer. Did you see the gamer complexes, the gamer compounds?
Mm-mm.
Which sounds like insanity because it is.
No.
So gaming and gamers nowadays is wildly different than what it used to mean. Now it's like people who stream and play things like, Call of Duty professionally, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But there's these like gaming teams that do like esports and stuff like that. So like think like Fortnite tournaments and stuff like that. They have built compounds where they can go and play their games here at this place.
Yeah.
And train and be a team, and it's just like it's.
That's wild.
At the end of the day, it's video games, right?
Right. It's supposed
like,
to be for
here,
entertainment.
Yeah.
Right?
This is video games that we're talking about. There's one where a guy, he posted a video of like a walkthrough of the thing.
Yeah.
And he walks in and like, he's got that YouTuber charisma, so none.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, what's going on, guys? It's so-and-so here. I'm going to take you through our compound, tour and everything.
No.
And he walks in up to the front desk, and there's like this girl sitting there at this huge front desk, this massive fucking front desk, and she's got this little laptop. And just on the desk, there's nothing else on the desk. There's no like inbox, outbox. There's no like, it's not a business.
Right, it's not a business
They're
front.
trying to present it as one. And there's like a hole in the desk, like in the front, like this, like on the top. And she goes, will you be having your usual today? He was like, yes, please. And a fucking sugar-free Red Bull, 12-ounce sugar-free Red Bull comes up through the hole out of the bottom of this desk. And they tried to posit it as like this, like...
Well, she probably just had her hand up. You hear her scraping underneath the bottom.
Yeah, trying to find the hole. It's like, it very clearly was not like this automated thing you built.
Yeah.
It was like somebody, it's like just stuck it up through there.
Yeah.
And then he walks into like, he's like, this is one of my most favorite like parts in the whole building. And he opens up the room into like this fucking cubicle. And it says like Rocket Mortgage on the side of the wall because they had to get money from Rocket Mortgage in order to build this thing. And it's just like, this was meant to be a hobby.
Yeah, this wasn't meant. Yeah, it's
whatever this has become. I want no part of this.
Yeah,
it's like, and I hate that people think that's what gamers are.
Right.
That's what those people are.
When I think of video games, I think very fondly back on 2008, 2009.
Memories.
Like I think very fondly back on the Modern Warfare 2 lobbies.
Yeah. That
just
toxic hellhole.
The toxic hellhole that was those lobbies.
Yeah.
Some of the most rancid shit
I
have ever heard. Things that people would say to one another was just absolutely insane. You would never hear somebody ever say that. But I had an iota of respect for them that they said it.
Because oftentimes they could back it up with skill.
Right.
They were good enough to say that kind of shit.
Right.
I mean, yeah, so gaming was just, it was, even beyond like the competitive side of things.
Yeah.
Were stories, that you couldn't get otherwise.
Right.
And now it's this thing where we all gather in this fucking complex and we stream and we, let's go and fucking, I hate it.
Right.
I hate what you've made it.
I mean, and from what I've heard, I don't really play video games really anymore, but from what I've heard is it's not the same. Like, you can't say some of the shit that you used to say because they'll kick you out of the game. Like, you can't get back on the game.
You'll get banned for teabagging. Yeah. You'll get banned for teabagging. It's sexual assault.
In Halo?
In Halo.
Oh, God. That was like the best part of the game.
Yes, it was. When you fucking 360 no-scoped a dude, you teabagged him because that's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Well, it's like I specifically remember, like, we were playing one time, and the dude threw down a bubble shield, and then me and you drove through, and I popped him on the top of the head with a fucking sticky grenade.
Yeah.
And then what did I do? I ran over and teabagged him, and somebody shot me in the head. And everybody laughed because it was funny.
It was a good time. I don't know. things are different. We're old and crotchety, and we don't like that they've changed.
Well, if they just tried everything. Anytime like you have like large corporations that they say, I think we can make some money off of this.
Yep.
They have to take like all of the riffraff.
Take all the fun out.
They have to take all the fun out of it and
get the undesirables.
And get them out of there. But it's like what
so we
they
can
don't
make this marketable.
Right. What they don't understand is that's what made the game fun, and that's why people went to go play it. Like you can't just have like this just like cookie cutter.
Yeah. It was like fucking
safe.
Tortuga from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Exactly. Like I remember so many times playing like in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby where somebody would like get a tactical nuke.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just screaming like
all the races, homophobic things you've never heard.
A string of expletives that, like, number one, I've never heard them put together.
Yeah.
In that way before, probably never will again.
Yeah. When you turned off the Xbox of a night of Modern Warfare 2, you were far more verbose than you were when you started that night. It was a collaborative effort, is what it was.
There were so many people on there claimed to have had sex with my mother.
Yeah, Mom's been a busy woman.
Yeah.
All because I hit a guy with a riot shield.
Or people would do like a 360 no scope, or they'd throw like a knife across the map and pop somebody on top of the head for like a final kill, like the kill cam or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was the best part about Modern Warfare 2 is when it came down to the final kill, everybody's trying to do something so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then because everybody would see it and then you hear everybody yelling in the lobby.
Screeching.
Yes.
Like fucking chimpanzees. It's such a clear distinction between that era of gaming and now because I've been playing Halo Infinite. There's no pregame lobby. None of that.
Really?
So no pregame lobby. So you queue up, unless you're in like a group of people, like your friends or whatever already, you hit, play, find match, whatever, and then it immediately goes from that screen to a loading screen to the match.
Yeah.
And you can hear people on your team during the game, and then once it's over, there's no post lobby. So you go right back to find a match screen. So there's never they really
there's no like commingling.
There's no commingling outside of the actual match. Like, do you remember in Halo 2 where you would find a lobby, right? Say you queued up Team Slayer.
Yes.
It was you and 7 other people.
That you have no clue who these people are.
You have no fucking idea who these people are.
It's always dead silent.
Yeah, until somebody breaks that silence. Then it's a fucking Wild West saloon fight until the game starts.
Then it's just chimpanzees screeching.
Yeah, throwing shit
into the mic.
Yeah, I like that video I sent you. Quick aside. Everybody go look up Whose Toes Are Those on YouTube. You won't regret it. But like, it's. So in Halo 2, you'd queue up, it would be you, 7 other people, and you'd play the match, whatever, and then it would go back to a post-game lobby with you and those 7 other people.
Exactly.
So you talked all this shit before the game started.
Exactly.
A bunch of nonsense happened during the match.
Yeah.
And then after the match, we all talked about it.
Yeah.
And you remember you could choose to continue playing with those 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody backed out, they would put them in a different lobby with different people, and so I would fill that spot. So sometimes you would jump into, like, in those wee hours of the night, you would jump into a lobby where the same 7 people had been playing with each other, and this like camaraderie had built.
Exactly.
And they were like showing each other like, how to get outside the map, and like, what challenges are you trying to complete? I can help you do your challenges.
There's somebody standing on top of a ghost flying across the map.
Yeah. People just digging around having fun.
Yeah.
There's none of that anymore.
Right.
That's gone.
That's so sad.
It is sad. The community is there's no community.
Yeah.
It's like it always went like that with the pregame lobby. Somebody broke the silence with some inane out of pocket shit, and then like the match would happen. It was the sweatiest match you ever played, and then the post-game lobby with all the trash talk, and eventually filtered down to like 8 like-minded individuals.
Right.
And then you just had fun for the rest of the night.
Right.
But no more of that. Everybody's got to be good boys and don't teabag each other.
That's so sad.
Yeah. Don't forget to pay $20 so that you can unlock cosmetics in our live service free-to-play multiplayer game.
Like, if you could... I think if you could recapture... Obviously, you can't do it now through, like, Xbox and everything, probably because they've got that so moderated.
Yeah.
That it's like, well, you've broke terms of service or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you can't have your game on here anymore. We're like... I'm sure that they're like... Xbox probably looks at all these people, and they're like, you have to follow this terms of service, or else your game is not going to be platformed by Xbox.
Yeah.
But if you could do, like, I'm sure Steam doesn't give a fuck.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you can bypass that with Discord.
Right.
Discord's your own chat lobby that you moderate.
Right. So,
and as long as you're not in one that's got like 40,000 people in it, because somebody's eventually going to have to step up and kind of rein that in.
Right.
Those usually get a little, some of the fun gets sucked out of that. But if you're in like a Discord with like 20 other dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if there's some way that like you could start a match, have it like linked, and they might already do this, have it linked to like Discord for this particular game or whatever. Like if it was the actual company itself that made the game, and then you some way or another, Discord would know to stick these people into a lobby.
Yeah.
And then be like, okay, and as they jump out, the game puts people into the lobby with these people according to like maybe like a game ID or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you could probably do it that way.
Yeah.
And it's be like, hey man, it's a free for all.
Yeah. It's like they're still playing the game on your server, but all the chat and voice and everything is on a completely different third party.
Right.
So they can still play the game and be as toxic towards each other as they want to be, and nobody has to, lose their privileges.
Right.
Because even though it was, the fucking, shit chimp fest in those lobbies, you always had the option to mute players.
Exactly.
There was always...
If you don't like what somebody is saying, you just mute them.
The power was always in your hands.
Right.
Always. So if you were sitting there getting steamed because somebody was calling you the F word, or the N-word, or some variable, both of those things combined.
You select their player, and then you hit X.
Mute them.
And it muted them.
And that was it.
That was it. It was over.
You were never forced to take it. It was always an option to leave.
My favorite, too, was there was always, like, somebody whose mother was in the background with a vacuum.
Yeah. It's like some fucking dog barking.
Or there's like somebody that had their mic on and they were like listening to music and everybody's screaming at them.
Yeah, turn that shit off. And it played the entire match. I don't remember what game it was. I played a while, but it might have been Gears. It was 2 or 3 years ago. But I queued up in a lobby, and in the lobby, because they still had pregame lobby at that time, I heard a kid yelling at his mom.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Mom. And she was like, please get off the game and do your homework. Fuck you, suck my dick. And he was literally talking to his mom that way. So, seeing that that's how children are these days, maybe they're far too powerful to have pregame lobbies.
Maybe it's that with the pregame lobby, like, these kids, obviously their parents aren't making them do correctly.
Yeah.
It's like maybe if you put them in a pregame lobby with a bunch of like 20-year-olds and they just railed this kid for like 5 minutes before the match starts.
And then team killed him during the match. Another thing too is, it eventually comes down to the parents.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be aware of the media that your child is taking part in.
Right.
And if you have a problem with it, don't take it out on the media for existing.
Right.
Stop your kid from doing it.
Right.
That power is in your hands. So.
Well, a lot of parents will try to circumvent their accountability out to all these different entities, right? So they'll do this thing where it's like, especially too, like you see this with like parents like in the school system and everything, where it's like, instead of like disciplining your kids and making your children do right, and then so if they're not acting correctly at home, what in the world makes you think that when this kid goes to school,
they're going to be a different
kid? They're going to be a different kid.
They're going to take all those bad habits at home
and crank it up to 10.
Yeah, it's going to be unreasonable.
Right. Because the school system does this thing where it's like they let them get away with murder.
Yeah.
The thing that's always killed me about the school system is how, like, you'll have kids that will, like, bully other kids.
Yeah.
And, like, for the whole year.
Yep.
Never do anything about it.
Everybody knows what's going on.
Exactly. But as soon as the other kid
snaps
and punches that other kid in the face, now we got a problem.
Yeah. Now we got to expel both kids.
Right.
I remember my senior year of high school, they told us all there, like, if you get in a physical altercation, it doesn't matter if you started or not, or if you even threw a punch. If you're involved in any way, you're both expelled. I was like, what kind of fucking sense does that make?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Who wrote that rule?
Also, the faculty knows which kids are the shitty kids.
Right.
You people know.
Right.
I know that you know.
Right.
So why am I culpable?
Like, if I was a teacher and I saw that happening throughout the school year, and then finally the kid snapped or whatever, and it punched this other kid in the face, I'd be like, I didn't see anything.
Nope, didn't see a thing.
Didn't see a thing.
I did that a few times growing up. I was a larger individual. So I got picked on a little bit. But I always went through the proper channels. Hey, so-and-so's giving me a hard time. Could you please do something about it? Oh, what's that? You're not going to? Well, I guess I have to punch them now.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you're not giving the child any other option. It's like if there is a child that is putting hands on another child.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so, like, at Autumn's school.
Yeah.
Like, last year. There's a kid this kid has some mental issues or whatever, but he's putting his hands on other kids.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Right. And Autumn came home with, like, these gouges down her arm. And I was like, who did that to you?
Yeah.
And she told me who it was. And so I go up to the school and I drop her off. There's another dad that's dropping his daughter off. And he goes, where is so-and-so? And they go, what's the issue? He said, my daughter said that this kid punched her in the face. Where is he?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so it's not just my daughter that's having an issue.
Yeah.
So I walk up to the front desk and I told him, I said, this kid is obviously putting his hands on all these other kids. I said, what are you doing to stop it?
Yeah. What steps are you taking to change this?
And they were like, well, and they kind of gave me like the runaround or whatever. I was like, so it's okay for other kids to put their hands on my daughter? I was like, but it's going to be an issue when my daughter puts her hands back on somebody else, right? Yeah. And they're like, well, we don't promote. And I was like, well, you are.
Yeah.
Because you're letting this other kid run around and punch these other kids and scratch them on the arms and everything. I was like, if I tell my daughter that it's not okay to put your hands on somebody, I was like, but it is okay to put your hands on somebody if they put their hands on you. I was like, this is on you at this point.
Yeah.
I was like, you better get it fixed.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna give her permission to put her hands on him.
Yeah. She's gonna hit him in the back of the head with a stick.
Right. Sorry. I guess you should have took care of it. And well, that's the thing too, is like, I think honestly, if they gave teachers more power,
yeah,
to be like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because, obviously you can't have teachers walking around smacking kids in the back of the head, like,
right.
But they have to be able to
have enough power,
some authority,
right?
Because the kids will very quickly figure out that, oh, you can't do anything.
It turns into Lord of the Flies.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it turns into.
When the kids realize that the teachers are basically powerless,
right?
Then
got no teeth.
Yeah, it's just gonna go. Every action will go unpunished,
right?
And then you got parents who don't even want to hear that their kid's a problem.
Nope.
No, my kid's a little angel. He's, your kid's the problem. It's, my kid has whichever acronym allows me to shirk accountability.
Yeah.
The doctor said, oh, really? The doctor that sold you those pills? Did he say?
Yeah. The one that's got your kid attached to a pill mill now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we believe that guy.
No. It's such insanity. It's what it is, and the only thing that I can come up with is it's just laziness. It's just laziness on the part of the parents.
Yeah.
And
these kids that are parented by YouTube and tablets.
Yeah.
And, you just sit your kid in front of whatever thing is going to keep them occupied so that you can sit on the couch and drink wine and scroll Facebook.
Right.
Congratulations, you raised a psychopath.
Right. Exactly. Well, and there's so many parents that do it now that me trying to discipline my daughter and be like, hey, we don't treat people this way, or this is the way that we act.
Yeah.
This is how we do things.
Yeah.
Like, these are the morals and the ethics and the standards that we hold ourselves to. It's like, we can't do it all the time, but as long as you have like a guiding light to be like, this is how I should act. Like, I'll fall short of this, but as long as I'm striving to be this person, then we're doing all right.
As long as you're not going out of your way to harm other people.
Right. Whereas, like, you have kids over here, it's got fucking YouTube raising them, right?
Yeah.
And they're, God knows what they're watching.
They have no fucking clue.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like the YouTube Kids thing or whatever. I guess at some point there was like this craziness that was going on with it, where like, I guess they had like AI generated like little cartoons where it was like Spider-Man and Elsa and the Hulk running around or whatever. And at some point they're like injecting urine into people or something like that.
Well, the thing was,
at least that's what I heard. I don't know if that's actually what had happened, but
YouTube, all they did was they introduced this button for when you upload a video that says, "Is this for kids?" And you say yes, and they say, "Okay, we'll show it to kids," without reviewing.
Yeah,
because they can't review 80,000 hours of video every day that's uploaded. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's insanity.
So it has to fall onto some kind of algorithm or AI to kind of determine, what's going on. So of course some shit slips through the cracks. There's really no good answer to it. I would think the best thing to do is if you're making content for kids, you need to be vetted by a person from YouTube.
Right, correct.
That stuff needs to be vetted to the highest degree.
Right.
Instead of just putting a button on the upload window, is this for kids?
Yeah, they need to have, and it's not like they're not making enough money. I mean, you could have a whole team of people, 30 or 40 people.
And pay them very well.
Yeah, and be like, hey, man, it's going to take you like a week to get this video uploaded.
Yeah.
It may take longer, whenever we get around to it. But we vet every single one of these videos that come through.
Yeah, if you're saying this is for a kid.
Yep, and it has to meet these standards before it goes on this section of YouTube.
Yeah.
If not, then if you break any of these rules, then it's not going on there.
Yeah, then we're going to blacklist you.
Exactly. Yeah. And you won't be allowed on the platform. If we see your username come across or we see an email attached to this username, we're going to throw it in the trash.
It's like you said, they definitely have enough money that they could do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because look at the stuff that, is like that fucking Chicky Chicky Boom Boom song. Remember I told you that song had like 10 billion views or something absolutely fucking insane like that?
Yeah.
And that, I can't remember the exact number. I think it was like $13 million is what that video made after Google, who owns YouTube, took their cut of like 70%, whatever it happens to be. So they got all that,
all that revenue.
All that revenue went straight to them. And it was like, you could, use some of that to try and batten down the hatches on your platform so that my kid isn't exposed to jelking videos.
Right, exactly. Well, and it's not like they don't have to invest in like a lot of raw material. It's like really the only thing they're investing in.
Yeah, you're not making the
server
content.
farms.
Yeah.
That's really all you're investing in is investing in is server farms. That's it.
Yeah, you're not creating the content. You're not expending the effort. You're not storyboarding. You're not animating. You're not doing the sound
design. You're not doing
design.
any of those things.
You're doing nothing. It's coming to you with a little bow on it. And then all you have to do is take a look at it and put your fucking eyes on it and say, yeah, that works.
Right.
Here comes my $1 million.
Right. Well, it's just sometimes we are not at the point yet where a computer program can vet everything. That's not where we are. Is you still have to have human interaction with these videos.
There's so many creators on YouTube who are just like fucking struggling with this system because everything's so automated, and they're never their video will get taken down and they'll never get told why. So that if you would at least tell me why my video got taken down, I could either fix it or try to avoid that in the future.
Right.
It's like, nope, sorry, the AI did it, so we don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, it's such a. And the crazy part about it is it's gotten to the point now, especially with some of these creators, is really once you get up to 1 million followers or whatever, you can kind of turn that into a full-time gig. Yeah. You're making 6 figures.
Yeah.
You're making good money.
Yeah, as long as you're putting out videos that are getting, somewhere between 500,000 upward to 1 million views every video.
You're making a living. Yeah. You're making decent money. It's but at the same time, there really is not any other platform besides YouTube for long-form video creation. It's you can't really put it anywhere else. Yeah. You can't stick it on Instagram. You can't stick it on TikTok. You can't stick it on Snapchat. YouTube is the only player in town when it comes to long-form video creation. That's the only one. Where else are you going to put it?
Yeah.
Are you going to go put it on, what's it like?
You going to put it on TikTok in 1 minute segments?
Yeah. Like, I can't even think of a YouTube competitor.
There was Rumble TV for a while, and they might still be going because 2 years ago or whatever, I posted a video because I was on like a Labradoodle, Golden Doodle Facebook page of Lex and Lola did something funny, and I posted it there. And then somebody messaged me and was like, "Hey, we'd like to host your video on Rumble. You can, be a verified creator with us, and like we'll pay you this much money and all that stuff." And I was like, "Okay." And so I posted my video up there, and I think it got like 5,000 views or something on Rumble, and I made $30.
Nice.
And I never really did anything with it after that because Lex and all I do is sleep now.
Yeah.
But Rumble, it kind of broke down because they also posted it to YouTube on their Rumble YouTube page.
Right.
And it was like your revenue from us was like $20, and then from YouTube it was like $5, and then from other third-party sites it was this much money. And it was like, so Rumble is really paying. Like so YouTubers get paid, it's called CPM, it's like clicks per mil or something like that. And that's, you get paid a certain amount per every 1,000 views.
Right.
And it's ad revenue.
Right. And isn't it like you have to have engagement with the video for a certain period of time?
Yes. Yeah. So like after a while, like, if there's a sudden influx of 5 million views, that's just like, whatever.
No.
But I think like their CPM is like 2 cents for every 1,000 views.
Really?
That's so like on the low end. Some content creators get like pretty close to like $1.
No.
But that's like the 0.01% of creators.
Like PewDiePie and
like those
Mr.
guys.
Beast.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
So, Rumble CPM was like $3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's obviously not sustainable, but they're trying to get,
right. They're trying to entice other content creators to come onto the platform.
So I kind of hope that Rumble eventually does become a competitor, but the fact that YouTube is owned by Google is just, that seems so fucking insurmountable.
Right.
Like, how are you going to get over Google?
Right. And
they own the world.
Right. And even if you wanted to sell that platform to another like larger company, it's like, who are you going to sell it to? Amazon? It's like, well, then it's just going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just going to be the same. They're going to try to follow the YouTube model because they see that's what works. Instead of going with something like, oh, we're going to go in a different direction.
Yeah. Nobody ever really looks at something and says, okay, well, what are they missing on?
Right.
Where are they falling flat? If we can pick up where they're falling flat and give another, venue, instead of just doing exactly what they're doing and trying to get, faithful customers to our side. And
like at this point with Rumble, if, you would have to get picked up by a large corporation in order to get the influx of users, to get the influx of money, just to be able to be a competitor with YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, over an extended period, the thing is,
what you would need is like exclusive content.
Right. Like, it would have been easier way back in the day, like in 2008, if there was a competitor that saw what YouTube was doing and said, oh, we're also going to do that.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it by like this set, or like, here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So, and then you have like two competitors instead of having this monopoly, which is what it is. And instead you have like 2 or 3 different competitive sites that are running at the same time.
Yeah.
But that would have been easier to do it back in the day when it first got started up, because YouTube wasn't owned by Google at that point.
Yeah.
It was a completely separate entity.
YouTube didn't even know what it was at that time. It was anything and everything.
Right. It was madness.
It was madness, like those Modern Warfare 2 lobbies.
Yeah. Well, I just remember like back in the day, you could be like scrolling through YouTube or whatever, and like you would follow, like YouTube would, that whatever their algorithm change was.
Yeah.
Like it used to be that you'd go down a hole.
Yeah.
And then all
there
of
was
a sudden,
nothing that would recommend videos like the one you just watched.
Exactly.
It was just, we pulled this out of the hat.
Yeah. And like, so you would, like, you'd always like come to like some weird like video of like this woman dancing naked on a stage.
Yeah.
And all the comments are like, I'm in the weird part of YouTube again.
Yeah. That's why Wesley and I have such extensive knowledge of like these like esoteric YouTube videos. Because we were a part of it when it first came around.
It was insanity when it first started. And that's what made it so charming. It was just like this, this insanity that you're able to observe from a distance.
Yeah. Now it's, with YouTube families and You know, I've bitched about them 1,000 times on this podcast, and I'll probably bitch about them 1,000 times more because it's gross and I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they know what works. It's the formula.
Yeah.
All I have to do is follow the formula, and I make money.
It's like, can I really be mad at them for supplying the appetite?
Yeah.
Or should I really be mad at the people who are eating it?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I guess comparatively to like what you see on TV, is it really much any worse? Is it worse than watching the Kardashians?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're, you know, you can't really blame them for you know, seeing a market and taking part in it. Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we just need to fucking get rid of all of our scruples and just do some inane shit. I don't know. I have too much dignity, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, I don't know. I guess it's just we're doomed as a species.
You think we'll ever get to that point where people are like, you remember when Thiccboi's podcast first started out and they talked about real things, and now all they talk about is Xenu, the alien that arrived on Earth 9 years ago? Like, we get it. He's here.
Oh, is that the
Scientology?
The Scientology one?
Yeah.
You know, speaking of South Park, one more time, was that I remember when I first learned about that.
Was from South Park.
Was from
yeah.
South Park. And everybody thought they were full of shit.
They were not.
And then everybody went, no, that's what they really believe.
They even had a disclaimer while they were making fun of it that said, this is what Scientologists actually believe.
Because it was like, he like killed all the people on that planet and then dropped the souls into a volcano. And the volcano exploded and spread the souls everywhere or something.
Okay. I mean, why is your thing any less believable than my thing?
Yeah, I guess.
It was like Bill Burr was talking about Mormons. He's like, Scientology. He's like, your guy's name was Ron. He's like, he had a driver's license.
Well, and I think he had a quote too. He was like, the best way to make money is through religion.
Yeah. And boy, was he ever right.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, was it with the Mormons?
Yeah.
It's like, wasn't the guy that created Mormonism, wasn't he like a known con man?
Yeah.
Didn't he get shot in the back because he conned somebody?
I think so. Yeah, and his like golden tablets that only he could read and he didn't show to anybody else.
I mean, fuck, I guess my guy was a lot older than that, so there's really no written record of...
My caveat is, it happened so long ago that... I mean, you can make a reductive statement about all of them, right?
Yeah. I think maybe like the whole point of religion is that science cannot lead you in a direction of morality. Right? So there's no moral to...
There's really no moral guidance.
There's no moral guidance to science.
And it doesn't yet have all the answers. It doesn't have all the answers to the big stuff.
Right. Well, even if you did have all the answers to the big stuff via science, it still doesn't address how you should act as a human.
Yeah.
Like, even if we knew exactly how all of the universe and creation started, it doesn't address the issue of how you should act as a person and how you should interact with those around you.
Like, I know how all this came to be and how I'm here, but now what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that religion is a shining beacon of morality, but at least gives you some kind of idea of what you're supposed to do.
If you
almost every religion has, like, a set of, like, creed that, if you adhere to that, you would be a good person.
But you're not going to.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Because you are a person.
Yeah, and people are going to twist that stuff around to serve themselves because they're a person.
It was like, look at all the different preachers and everything, like Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
And, like, there was one dude that got popped for selling some type of like silver water or whatever it was because he said it'd cure COVID.
Oh, was that the guy? Was that the televangelist that was like, he was like, I will blow COVID-19 away with a mighty wind. And he was like, COVID-19, you are expelled from this country. Well, I think that's about all we got time for today. We might have gone a little bit over.
Yeah.
So a little bit of extra content for the listeners. Once again, as always, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We really do appreciate the constant support and just the outpouring of support recently. Everybody reaching out and telling us how much they're enjoying the podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure to leave us a like and a rating and review on whatever your favorite podcast platform is. We're on pretty much everything. We're on a bunch of podcast platforms that I've never even heard of. Like when I look at the Buzzsprout page, which is where we're hosted. Some of these things are like Go Casts, and I'm like, okay, never heard of that. But yeah, so thank you everybody. Wes, you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I wanted to do another I'm sorry segment.
Oh, do we have another one to do?
Yeah, so shout out to David Cano.
Oh boy.
Who he's from Colombia, so he took a little bit of an issue with
our South America thing.
Yeah, with our South America.
Sorry, David.
With our South America geography. So Venezuela is not next to Panama. If I'm reading this map correctly, it is Colombia.
Colombia's next to Panama.
Colombia is next to Panama. Venezuela is to the right of Colombia, and then Brazil is directly below that. And there's actually some other Ecuador, Peru, and Chile kind of come down that Pacific side.
Yeah.
And then you have Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina towards the bottom. There's some other ones up at the top, like Guyana, French. I can't even pronounce that. Sorry, but there's three other nations directly to the right of Venezuela. So we got that wrong. So I wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I like this segment.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. If we say anything wrong, feel free to let us know, and we will correct ourselves and issue an apology here on the podcast.
Right here on the podcast. Yeah. So if you take any offense to anything that we say, or you have any corrections that you need to make to what we said, like I said, you can always reach out through Facebook. You can leave us a comment or reach us through Messenger or text us if you have one of our personal numbers.
DM us on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah.
Or you can send us a message on Facebook. So we'll continue to try to do this segment. So if we have anything that we've messed up on, just let us know.
I should play like the South Park thing where he's like, sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry. All right, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.